Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome. Let's see. Let's see who's going to be first in
We're
the
always
chat box.
it's always a competition. We'll see who joins first. We've got a lot of people here. We got an exciting special guest this time around. Can't wait to see y'all. Let us know where you're coming in from.
Pike County, Pennsylvania, Resistance Wednesdays. Welcome. You are the first.
Dean from Indivisible, Boris and Beyond in Clinton, Massachusetts, was just a fraction of a second behind.
Mhm. Oh,
We-
Loveland, Ohio, Novelty, Ohio,
Burbank,
Elsewhere,
Portland,
Montclair, Indivisible,
Seattle. Hey, just
Charlotte, North Carolina.
a
Shout out
little
to everybody who is working overtime in Charlotte right now.
a little peek behind the curtain. We are trying to address the I am naturally much louder than Leah issue, and you'll see a fuzzy little caterpillar on Leah, and there is one on me as well. And we're hoping this works. So if the audio is better, let us know. And if the audio is indistinguishable from last time, let us know that too, because we
Yep.
don't need to do this if it's not working for y'all. But let's welcome more people in. Where are you coming from? I saw Indivisible Hawaii is in the house.
All right. New Jersey, Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Oh,
Los Angeles, Big Bear Lake.
I saw some Tennessee Indivisibles in the
Tennessee.
house also, which is important for our guest who's going to be here in just a couple of minutes.
Frankfurt.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Great. Frankfurt.
that's a
Welcome.
difference.
We had a big piece in one of the major German papers a week or two ago. Maybe that's how Frankfurt's on board now.
Paducah, Kentucky, Morgantown, Chicago, Bloomington, Illinois, or Bloomington, Indiana. Let's see, Las Vegas, Connecticut, Syracuse, Waterville, Kansas, San Marcos, Texas.
Oh,
Is that
San Marcos. I love San Marcos. My
Mhm.
mom worked in San Marcos for a long time, spent a lot of time there. Leah, we've got a special guest who's
We
coming.
do.
We're going to have a lot of questions, as is the usual. There are more
Yeah.
people who have registered for this than have registered ever before. Should we get started?
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Okay, welcome, folks.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Ezra.
I'm Leah.
And this is What's the Plan? We are the co-founders of Indivisible. We are here to talk about how we fight for our democracy. We are here to talk about how we help Democrats find their spines. We help fracture the MAGA coalition. We ensure that there isn't a fascist federal government that is invading and occupying our cities, that's not demolishing our election infrastructure. And we're building power to reduce harm and ultimately to protect our democracy so we can build a society that actually reflects the will of the people. That's what we're all doing here, and we call it "What's the Plan?" because we have a bias towards action. Yes, look, we're political junkies. We are policy wonks and nerds. We like to get into the details of policy. We like to talk about the political twists and turns. Like, I think it's important to stay informed, and also that's not the point of these. The point of these is to talk about, okay, so this is what's going down. What do we actually do about it? That's why we come together on a weekly basis, and we're trying to experiment a little bit, which is why we have an incredible guest. We'll introduce her when she joins in a bit. Afton Bain, who is running for Congress, up for election in just a couple of weeks, and it's a really exciting race. If you haven't heard about it yet, you're going to be really. I think you're going to have a
Yeah.
big treat listening to Afton because she is a powerhouse. Um, so with that said, Leah, this is a little bit of a different one because we're having Afton join and we're going to do some Q&A with her. But do you want to talk through
Yeah.
how this is going to go and how it normally goes?
If you're new to What's the Plan, the general format is we do an upfront monologue. We talk about what's hopping this week, and then where most of the conversation is Q&A, overwhelmingly live. We take questions from the Q&A box. It's in your toolbar on the bottom of your screen. You can pop your questions in. You can upvote the questions that you want to see. We're going to take them mostly off the top with a little bit of attention to trying to get some different questions in there. If you're from an Indivisible group, please do let us know in the question because we really like to make sure we're answering questions from people who are doing the work on the ground. This is going to be recorded. It will be sent out to everyone who registered in a follow-up email. We will post links in the chat as we go along with action items, resources, etc. We will follow up and make sure you get those in the follow-up email. So do not worry if you miss them because the chat is going too fast. And finally, just a note on the chat box. We love the chat box. We have got thousands and thousands of people on here. It is incredible. And also, sometimes it can go really fast, and sometimes it can get a little bit intense. What we ask from everybody who is part of What's the Plan is that we keep things constructive and respectful. We are all part of the same movement. We are all fighting together against the fascists. We are all going to work together and lift each other up, and we want to model that in all of our interactions with each other.
I appreciate everybody saying that the audio is way better, and that's great.
Great. Yeah.
Like, you don't know if a technological solution is going to work. We did test it out. Appreciate the team helping out with this. We talked about it. So if this is working well, we'll keep with it. Always improving, always experimenting. Okay, so Leah talked about how we're working together to fight for our democracy. As anybody who's been here before knows, the way we do this primarily is not just by some big national list or just me and Leah talking to y'all. We like doing this, but the real power, the beating heart of the Indivisible movement comes from the local groups. We are not the leaders of this movement. The local Indivisible group leaders are who actually make power. And that power means we're pushing the system to do things it otherwise would not do. So we always celebrate a selection of new Indivisible groups because we wouldn't have time to welcome all of the new Indivisible groups from the last week. But we have 10, I've limited myself to 10 that I will shout out. Give them some love in the chat and some emojis. These are brand new Indivisible leaders. We've got Brian from Indivisible Timnath in Timnath, Colorado. We've got Cheryl, founder of Jefferson County, Iowa Indivisibles in Fairfield, Iowa. Christina, Indivisible Middleborough in Middleborough, Massachusetts. There were a whole bunch of new Massachusetts groups this week. So sorry, Christina, you won. I picked out of a hat who I was going to call out, but Indivisible Middleborough, welcome to the movement. Kay with Indivisible Burnsville in Burnsville, Minnesota. A great Senate race that we're probably going to be talking about in this What's the Plan? Hope to get into it. Welcome, Kay. Welcome, Indivisible Burnsville. Claudia, Indivisible Polk Foothills in Columbus, North Carolina. Also a big Senate race there. Camille with Indivisible Cannon Beach in Cannon Beach, Oregon. Hunter with Indivisible Hill Country in New Braunfels, Texas, site of a great water park that I've been to many times as a kid. Susie with Upper Valley Indivisible in Leavenworth, Washington, and John with Shorewood Indivisible in Shorewood, Wisconsin. I added another from Washington. Normally I do multiple from a single state. But Katie, you're on the list from Rainier Beach Indivisible in South Seattle, Washington. Welcome, everybody. This is how we build power. It's together where we are, pushing our elected officials, pushing institutions that are failing to stand up in this moment, and celebrating those who are. Celebrating those who are. We're going to be talking to a candidate who is really showing up in this moment in just a bit. But before we get to that, I know we talk a lot about how do you push an elected official, or how do you push a candidate, or how do you support a candidate, or how do you defeat a candidate. But if you've been joining Indivisible really since the No Kings era began, you will see that we've been increasingly talking about institutions that are either standing up or falling. These are law firms, these are universities, these are businesses, these are media institutions. And what we know about authoritarian moments is that it's not just about Congress. It's not just about the White House. Trump is bullying comedians right now. He's bullying these institutions because he fears the source of power that they represent, and he's trying to consolidate power. So with that in mind, Leah, and as we head into Thanksgiving and the holiday season, we are joining in on a big campaign that you're going to tell everybody about.
Yes, I am. I'm excited to tell you a little bit more. If you've gotten an email from Indivisible today, you will see that we are joining the We Ain't Buying It campaign, which is this incredible collective effort across the movement to come together to really send a message to a set of corporate enablers who have been going along with Donald Trump's agenda. Now, the basic idea here is we have seen this massive set of collapses amongst corporations, amongst billionaires. We have seen a lot of wealthy and powerful people rolling over and trying to do Donald Trump's bidding, in some cases doing it without even being asked, right? When we think about Target at the beginning of this year, getting rid of all of its DEI policies, scaling back its promotion of Black History Month and of queer pride in stores, all of that is an example of what we call anticipatory obedience. They know the administration doesn't want to see that, so they just get rid of it immediately, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was the spark for a series of actions organized by a set of really powerful leaders across the Black community to bring together first a Target fast and then ultimately a boycott, which has been going on over the course of the year. I know many of us have been actively participating in it. That's one example of these corporate enablers that we're seeing. Another is Home Depot, right? Home Depot has been the site of, or the parking lots of Home Depot, and sometimes, in some cases, inside of the stores have been the site of some of the most wrenching footage and stories of abductions and detentions by ICE and CBP of folks who are just here trying to make a living in this country. And Home Depot has not spoken up at all about the fact that these things are happening. There has not in any way taken actions intended to try to limit or constrain the ability of ICE to go after folks who are on their premises. We want to send a message to them. And then Amazon. Do I need to tell you all about Amazon? Do I need to talk to anybody here about Jeff Bezos and the ways in which he has not only gotten rid of his own or corporate DEI and social responsibility policies, but taken over the beloved institution of the Washington Post and turned it into his own personal mouthpiece for conservative and MAGA policies? These are three examples of corporate enablers, people who, whether or not they're true believers in the MAGA agenda, they think that it is in their interest to collectively do what Donald Trump wants. And what we're going to show them is that they need to think about some other factors too. They need to think about the possibility of meaningful consumer backlash. And so we're coming together with, as I said, the Target organizers, with Black Voters Matter, with 5051 and Working Families Party, with many, many amazing folks to collectively say, we ain't buying it, right? And the ask is pretty simple. Black Friday is coming up. This is a big weekend. This has become kind of a big American consumer tradition, right? We're going to not shop at Target on Black Friday and over that weekend. We're not going to get our Christmas gifts at Target. We're not going to get our Christmas trees at Home Depot. We are not going to shop at Amazon on Cyber Monday. We're going to send a message to each of these companies that we want to see them stop enabling fascism and start standing up for our values. This is an experiment for us. I think we've all talked about this, right? This is relatively new to Indivisible, that we collectively engage in corporate pressure and action. And so we're grateful to be coming together in a big and powerful coalition to do this. And we really want to make this a cultural phenomenon. We want to break through to people who maybe aren't joining us on a Thursday afternoon, but who could collectively agree to take part in something like this. And so we'll be thinking about creative ways to promote as well. Wherever you're going, wherever you're gathering with your family over Thanksgiving, be sure to shout this out and think about how you can also get more folks involved. But we're really excited to be part of this, and we think it's an important moment to send a powerful message.
And let me just say, as the parents of a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old, not being able to shop at Target has not been easy. We would spend, I don't know, Leah, every
Yeah.
other weekend going to Target. I don't know how many times I would just knee-jerk order something from Amazon because, God, we needed it tomorrow.
Yep.
And I can tell, it is possible, y'all. It is possible to extract yourself from those institutions and instead give your money to others. If we can do it, the amount of time we were shopping at those places, I think you can do it, and especially for a day. So as Leah said, this is experimental for us, and we're throwing in with a big coalition to do it. One thing that we're going to try to do as we engage in this is to learn a lot about where is the Indivisible movement, where when it comes to this kind of corporate campaigning. And so the survey that we're going to send out after this call is going to be specifically focused on the We Ain't Buying It campaign. And we're going to ask just a couple questions about, is this something you're into? Is this something that is applicable to you? Is this something that you would want to do in the future? So I would really appreciate it if folks could take a look at that survey, fill it out real quick, provide some input. For folks who are new, I think sometimes you get these emails and it's like they're just asking me this because they're going to ask me for money later. We are actually
trying to get
we're,
information.
we're actually trying to get your information. I don't donate to us after getting this email. Give us the information though, because I want to know what people are willing to do. That's going to help us build up towards future campaigns. Leah, you jump in. Yeah.
One additional thing, because I'm seeing it in the chat, and I think it's important to also lift it up. The strategic logic of this is really about sending that message to corporate enablers. But what do you do with your time? What do you do with your money over that weekend? What we are asking folks to do instead is shop local, shop at small businesses, at Black and BIPOC owned businesses, at immigrant owned businesses, to think about how you can support your own community, whether there's an active service or mutual aid, or supporting a local food bank or institution that you could do over the weekend instead of the traditional Black Friday run. So thinking about leaning out of big corporations that are coming after our values and our freedoms, and leaning into community and supporting each other.
That's right. I saw in the chat some people saying, but what about Spotify? Thank you for asking. We are continuing to. What's that?
We gotta we
Is
got
Afton
a
on?
special guest. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, Afton's not on yet. So we're going to
So
cover
where's the
Spotify.
one?
Well,
Okay.
oh, wait. Afton might be on. Okay, I'm going to shut up Afton. Oh, Afton's here.
Okay.
Okay, she's here. I'm going to do a brief intro, and we want Afton, thank you for joining us. Let's get her off mute and on camera. Excellent. We caught you in between events. Afton, it is great to see you.
To see you too. It feels like coming home.
Welcome home. You are among friends. We are excited to be here with you. We are really excited for what you're doing in Tennessee. We have just a few questions that we wanted to get into, but for folks who don't know Afton, she is the 7th Congressional District in Tennessee candidate where there is early voting going on right now. If you are in the district, you can vote right now. The election day is December 2nd, but get it out there. And if you aren't in the second in the 7th district, you can help Afton out. One of the things, if you go to Afton's website, I love she describes herself as a pissed off social worker. That's one of the first lines, which as the son of a pissed off social worker, that just hits near and dear to my heart. She is a homegrown community organizer, y'all. She is an advocate for rural and public hospitals in Tennessee. She was well known within the Indivisible movement as a group leader and an organizer in Tennessee. So she's well known in Tennessee, but also it's not just in Tennessee. She was the founder of the Raucous Rural Caucus for Indivisible as well years and years ago. So she has been this just fierce defender of democracy. And I am just freaking thrilled that we're able to talk to her and so incredibly proud to have been some small part and have crossed paths with her as she's ascended to the ranks of incredible democracy defenders in the country. So she's given a lot of people a lot of hope, not just in Tennessee, but all over. So, Afton, thanks for being here. And first, I just want you to tell us, but especially everybody here, why is this election so important?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thank you so much. It feels like a homecoming. And I just want to elevate that Indivisible has just been such an institutional and foundational part of my story. Um, you all trained me to be one of the best organizers I could be, and gave me the opportunity to run around the 7th district in 2017, 2018, 20 through 2020, and to help build the capacity and the infrastructure, the progressive infrastructure we needed to actually win this race, which is why it's so competitive. So, some context for folks on the call, Representative Mark Green decided to cash in on his corporate checks. He voted for the big ugly bill and then skipped town to Guyana, where he is doing something sketchy, probably, and thus catalyzing a special election in Tennessee. And it's the last flippable red to blue congressional district in the entire country. It's historically, and so for those of you that remember, Nashville was a consolidated Democratic district, and then after redistricting, they cut it into 3 pieces. And this is one of those pieces. And it just so happens that it includes some of the highest voter turnout precincts in Nashville, coupled with our Purple County, which is up by the Kentucky border and includes Fort Campbell. So it's a lot more competitive than people think. And we have been able to shrink the margin from about 20 to about 6. And so that is where we are right now. Our early voting data shows us we're about down by 4. Of course, the Trump PAC decided to jump in. They're spending about $2 million in a race that they didn't want to spend. The airwaves are saturated with attack ads, some from my Indivisible days. So they're going, full throttle, and what it's going to take to win is absolute turnout. And so I'm asking you all for the next 2 weeks, as you are able to make this election your entire personality. And so as you are able to phone bank, as you are able to donate, we can win it. It's just going to take everyone and their second cousin, as we like to say in Tennessee.
Yeah, love it.
That's
Leah?
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'd love if you could share a little bit more about your own journey from organizer to elected office, and a little bit about how your experience as a group leader and organizer shaped how you operate as a leader, as an elected leader.
Yeah, I mean, I was the Tennessee organizer from 2018 to 2020, and then I had Kentucky. And I think it made me understand how to navigate legislative campaigns and then electoral campaigns, which you all do seamlessly. And for those of you that are just joining the Indivisible Network, you're going to come out of this experience just much more trained and much more adept at the hard skills you need to actually win elections and take back our democracy. And that's what happened with me. And then in 2023, I think I got pissed off enough that I looked around and I thought, you know what? I have the hard skills of being an organizer. Why don't I apply those to the state legislature? And so I decided to run. I won in a special election in a really competitive primary, which as an Indivisible, we love primaries, as we know. And I've been a state legislator for 2 years. And I think what's important to note is for those of you that, I never thought I wanted to run for office, but this moment requires courage, a contagious courage, and an urgency that all of us eventually are probably going to have to run for office. So, Ezra, Leah, I don't know what y'all's plans are, probably to raise the kids, but eventually one of you is going to have to run for office because the country is, it is where we are, and I'm so excited that this is the next vehicle in which I can do my organizing in.
We're behind your race, Afton, and I'm certainly not running. If y'all can encourage Leah to run, I would be happy to cheerlead her
Oh, no.
on.
Oh,
But we're focusing on Tennessee 7. That's where we are. So let's talk about the politics of this. You mentioned this a little bit, Afton, already. This is a district that voted for Trump twice. And then after this blue wave that we saw a couple Tuesdays ago, the National Republicans, they're scared of you. They are dropping a boatload of money against you right now. How are you thinking about the state of the race right now? How are you making the argument to voters in that district that you are the right person to represent them in Congress?
Well, I'll be vulnerable with you all. Today's a really rough day. The full onslaught of
Yeah.
the National Republican Party is on my back, and I've cried at least twice today. But I have to remember why I got into this race, and it's because our communities don't feel safe, our state is under attack, and people can't afford to live. And if I think about the fact that this race is a matter of life and death for folks on our Medicaid program, it pushes me back into the fight. And so, I obviously have our politics, right? And I knew, the attacks were coming, but if I try to kind of finesse and reframe how those attacks are coming, it's like they're coming because I care about my community. They're coming because I have fought to ensure that marginalized communities have a seat at the table. I have used my voice, my position, and my privilege to check power, right? And that is why they're coming hard after me, and that's why this race is so competitive. So to stay on TV, as I said, the airwaves, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Afton, don't let the bastards get you down. You see all these people who are on this chat. You see people
who are
around the
inspired by
country
you.
who are inspired by you, who are cheering you on. So screw those guys. They don't understand the district the way that you do. Your opponent would not be a tenth the member of Congress that you would be. You are in this for all of the right reasons, and we all see that.
Yep.
We all see that and are cheering you on. And thank you for throwing yourself into this because it is not easy. I know it's not easy anywhere. It's especially not easy to do that in a tough district like this when you've got the president of the United States directly trying to defeat you. We think it's really important in this moment for folks who are standing up to find support because this is a moment where we've got to stand together. You might say, stand together, indivisible, and treat an attack on you like an attack on all of us because that's what it is. So we're here behind you. We're really thrilled to be in this fight with you. You are very much not alone, as you can see in the chat right now. Leah?
Yeah, let me
Thanks,
take it in
guys.
a direction the direction that we all want to go. We're imagining, okay, you've won. This has been an extraordinary moment. It's a demonstration of the power of the backlash to what is happening in this country. You're taking the oath of office. What is your top priority in your first week as a member of Congress?
Making living affordable again. I've been running on ending the grocery tax in Tennessee. I've been organizing around it for 3 years. Tennessee is one of 9 states that has a sales tax on food, which is insane. And doing that by closing corporate loopholes. So I would imagine that I would take that fight to Congress and to ensure that the cost of groceries is my number one priority.
Cost of groceries, 100%.
And it's actually what Trump said he was going to do. He said he was going to lower the cost of bread and eggs. He said he was actually going to support folks. And here he is, we're a year in, and instead he's building himself a golden ballroom, demolishing the East Wing of the White House and terrorizing communities around the country instead of doing jack shit for anybody else. So I think that's a powerful message to bring, not just to our own normal constituencies, but even Trump supporters who thought this guy was going to deliver for him. But we can credibly say, this is what we're going to do, and we need real leaders to do that.
That's right.
So thanks for making that argument. Um, So speaking of Congress in general, you know that we've been pretty vocal about calling out the leadership of the Democratic Party, especially Chuck Schumer recently, who's minority leader of the Senate, not the House. It's the Senate, so a different body. But we also know the Democratic Party brand is just about as low as it's ever been. I'm from a rural place in Texas. The word Democrat was a bad word practically where I grew up. I'm curious, as you're engaged in this race, and you're talking to people, why do you think the Democratic brand is so low? And if you could wave a wand, what would you change about it?
What I've seen and heard in my district is they want leaders that fight for them and not for the party,
Yeah.
not for special interests, not for donors, right? And I think a lot of politicians are bought and sold by their corporate donors, by the political PACs that bankroll them, right? And that's not me. And the person I'm running against is absolute puppet to the puppet masters of the universe. And in fact, he only came out in support of releasing the Epstein files after he was given the green light from President Trump himself. So
Wow.
I've taken hard stands. That's probably why they're coming after me so hard right now. But I will always fight for the interest of the seventh district and to make healthcare more affordable, to make groceries cheaper. And that's my prerogative.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
it's great to hear.
All right. Okay, so for the thousands to 8,000 people who are on right now, who are watching, who are jazzed, who want to help, how can they help? Tell them where to go and what to do.
Yeah. So the excitement from the Virginia, New Jersey races, like we just need to 2 weeks more of that, right? And then you all can rest for the holiday season. So as much as you put into those races, it would send a message if we flip this district to the Trump administration that we are fed up, that we are done, that we are done with the chaos of Washington, we are done with the cost of living, and that the deep South, the South has something to say. So as you are able, please donate. I know you all are doing phone banking, it sounds like on your end. We also have phone banking, postcarding. If you're wanting to come down, there's a statewide day of action on November 29th where all of the county parties are coming to the district to help knock doors. We've been knocking thousands and thousands of doors, and they don't really have a field game. They've had to bring in reinforcements in the terms of the NRCC coming in because they hadn't been knocking doors. And guess what? It's a lot of indivisible groups, right? It's all the people that we've been organizing with for the past decade. So once again, I just want to say thank you so much for investing in me as an organizer and as a state legislator. I've been incredibly grateful for the opportunity, and I promise to take that fight to Congress.
We
We're
believe it,
with you all the
Afton.
way.
We know it. We know you will. You're going to be an incredible member of Congress. We can't wait to be cheering you on and then holding you accountable when you become a member of Congress,
That's
because
sweet.
that's how we do it.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
Well, the Indivisible groups in your district look forward to that first meeting when you're in office. I'm sure we are 1,000% behind you. AftonForCongress.com, I believe, is the website for you. So for folks who are looking for more information, they can go there. I see a ton of folks saying that they are volunteering and they are donating. If
Great.
you were on the fence before, now's the time, y'all. Now's the
Now's
time.
the
This
time.
is the race. There is not another race out there. This is it. The reason why you're reading about it now is because the national Republicans are quaking in their boots right now. They are worried about this. This is a tough district, and also they're worried about it. So please get in, do what you can. Afton, thank you. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. Thank you for being such an incredible leader, for inspiring so many people, again, in Tennessee and around the country. We just can't wait to see your star rise even further.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Later. Well, that was Afton Bain, everybody. We
Yeah.
are super jazzed about her and super proud to just be a little bit part of
Yeah.
that story. She just at a personal level, I will say, she is such an incredible organizer and a creative entrepreneurial organizer. She was
Yeah.
always just so innovative in the way she
Mhm.
was able to connect with folks and build bridges, and just the exact kind of person you dream of when you think of who would be really great in Congress,
Mhm.
who is not a tool of the broken system but comes with the right values.
Yep. And who's
So
going to be an organizer? Because frankly, like
we need
one
more
thing that we
organizers.
see
Yeah.
is the kinds of people who run for office, a lot of them like, they've got a professional background in something good, but it's not organizing.
Yeah.
And then they get in and they don't really have the skills to build coalitions, to come up with creative ideas, to do actions that'll get attention. The kind of stuff that we actually really need is
Yeah.
like a lot of times it's about the skills that come with being an organizer.
It's cool.
All right.
It's great. So
Okay.
this was a little bit experimental to have a guest. I think we're going to have more guests in the future. I know I've said that before, but as we get into the new year, especially, and we get into a lot of elections and primary elections going on, I think we're going to try to invite people more regularly to do something like this. Not fill up all of the time, but have a little bit of new flavor. You don't want to just hear from
Hmm.
me and Leah all the time, I'm
That's
sure.
right.
But so we're about 30 minutes in. We got another 30 minutes to do some Q&A. Should we jump into
Yeah,
it, Leah?
let's do it.
Okay, Lisa, you have the top voted question. Congratulations. You ask, I just learned from activists on the ground in Charlotte and in Raleigh that Hilton, Marriott, and Sheraton corporate have contracted with DHS and ICE agents to stay at their hotels. This is outrageous, and the local managers have no say. Could this decision at the central corporate level be the next boycott target for Indivisible? I'm interested in this. Do you know about
You
this,
know,
Leah?
I heard about this yesterday,
Okay.
and I think we're also trying to get a little bit more information on this. Here's what I would say. That sounds outrageous. That sounds unacceptable. It sounds like the kind of thing where it could well be a future campaign. Also, we want to land the work that we are currently doing right. Like our priority for this week, our priority right now is going to be having the biggest Black Friday impact that we can collectively, sending the most strongest collective message that we can in this moment. I know that folks, I hear two things from you at any given moment. One is, here's this incredibly significant list of different companies that are doing really bad stuff that require, that we need to have some kind of action around. And the other is a sense of overwhelm. Like, I'm not sure which ones I'm supposed to do. I'm not sure what actions I'm supposed to be part of. Part of what we're trying to do here is choose, and I'm actually going to answer a question that's a couple levels down around how many companies and should we have different blacklists, et
From
cetera.
Brad.
Yeah. Part of what we're trying to do here is not target literally everyone who has done something bad over the course of the last year because frankly,
Everybody's done something
yeah,
bad.
I mean, good luck, good luck. It's like Costco. That's pretty much it, right? Which is great. I do like
I
Costco.
love Costco.
And if Costco is doing something bad, please don't tell me. But point being, it's not about saying we're going to go after literally everyone. It's about saying we're going to create for every company that is operating some possibility that an act of compliance is going to be met with an outsized consumer reaction. That's the basic logic behind choosing three and trying to really land it together as a movement. We're bringing together causes, right? One company has been really terrible on DEI. One company has been silent as workers are being deported. We're actually trying to like stitch together that story of communities who are under attack coming together all to push back in the same package and to create for corporations this understanding that we're actually watching them and that there will be costs for compliance with this administration.
Uh, just reminding me that before people were asking about what's happening with Spotify, just want to note if you didn't see it, there were some pretty cool acts. So we're still on Spotify boycott land. We're trying different tactics. One of the things that we saw were indivisible groups in LA were projecting some pretty awesome images onto Spotify headquarters. So they were doing in-person actions there, and they got a lot of pickup up both from the creator world and from some local media. We're cooking up something around Spotify Wrapped as well. It's not yet for prime time, and apologies to the team if I wasn't supposed to say this yet, but there will be something, an action around Spotify Wrapped. As a reminder, the reason why we are boycotting Spotify is because they are running ICE recruitment ads. If you are not somebody who is paying for Spotify, you're just listening to it for free, you get ads. One of the ads you are getting is to recruit for ICE. It is wild. Now, Spotify doesn't get most of its money from ads. They get most of their money from subscriptions. So we are canceling our subscriptions and we're trying to put as much pressure as possible and get attention on this fact because it should be deeply embarrassing for the company. Um, okay, moving on. So Leah, I
That's
think
right.
we answered Lisa's
Mhm.
question and Brad's question. Going to Harriet's question, do you think it's about time to push for a 25th Amendment investigation into Trump for corruption, treason, ignoring the Constitution, and mental decline?
So here's like two answers at the same time. The first is it is really obvious to anybody who is watching Trump that he is in serious mental decline, right? Like we don't need to go over all of the examples of very visible inability to like hold and finish a thought, like memories of things that are not true or did not happen or happened a long time ago. All of the signs, right? And also we have been thinking throughout this year in terms of like what are the attacks on Trump that are most likely to build the biggest possible coalition and opposition that we can use, both to mitigate harm and then to ultimately electoralize, right? And the basic issue with kind of like the 25th Amendment route is that it requires your cabinet, like the people who Donald Trump personally owns, to take action. And they're not very good targets for advocacy on that front, right? Because they're in no way open to an advocacy campaign from us. They are not particularly amenable to
They're
whatever. They're
they're
bought and sold. They're bought and sold by
they're
Trump.
depending on Trump for a pardon for all the crimes they've been committing,
Thank you. That's
directed by
exactly right.
Trump. They're not going to get rid of the guy who's going to pardon them.
Right, exactly. And so we don't see that as, I'm totally fine with whoever wants to call for it. We don't see that as a particularly strategic possible angle of actual removal because fundamentally we would be counting on the foxes to get rid of, no, that doesn't, that metaphor doesn't work. We'd be counting on some of the worst people in the world to take action in relation to Donald Trump, and that does not make a ton of sense to us.
I will say I do think it. We talk about this a lot. I think it's very important that elected officials in the primaries and in the general elections coming up talk a lot about accountability. And
Yes.
impeachment is one thing, and obviously Trump has committed God knows how many impeachable crimes since he's been sworn in. But it's not just impeachment; it's also subpoenas, it's also hearings, it's also investigations, and not just for Trump. For his cabinet, for senior members of the Department of Homeland Security and for DOJ, for individual agents on ICE who are committing crimes and violating the law and in some cases violating the Constitution. This should be an accountability election that we head into. There should be no doubt in anybody's mind that when the Democratic Speaker of the House and the Democratic Senate Majority Leader of the Senate are sworn in on January 3rd of 2027, that within minutes the subpoenas start flying. That should be a fait accompli. That should be a direct result of the election that we build a blue wave to produce in November of next year. But the way we get there isn't waiting until November of next year to talk about it. All Democrats should be talking about this is accountability season. We are moving into an era of reform and accountability. The Trump era is over. The No Kings era is here. The No Kings era is defined by not allowing kingly rule, actually exercising the oversight responsibilities of Congress. And that doesn't just mean Trump. I really want to be clear. Trump is part of it, but it's got to go far beyond Trump. I don't want anybody thinking they are safe because they're not the president. Everybody ought to be subjected to oversight once we retake control. And it should be a massive national scandal and embarrassment that the Republicans in the House and the Senate are refusing to exercise any of their constitutional responsibilities to actually hold this would-be authoritarian regime in check. Well, that was rant number one from you. Sorry, I just kind of started going, y'all. Okay.
We made it to almost 40 minutes in without
Yeah, but we only started
waited.
Q&A 7 minutes ago. Okay, I'll take a back seat now.
Okay.
Okay, Linda asks, ICE has used the scary proliferating network of police flock AI surveillance cameras, automated license plate readers against immigrants. True. The cameras are so problematic, they invade everyone's privacy, are easily hacked, and create error-prone and widespread police dragnet. There is a growing backlash that could be more powerful if we were coordinated. Can Indivisible National create a national campaign or network? Eyes off. And this is Linda with Indivisible Palo Alto Plus.
This is a great question, and I think it goes in the category of incredibly interesting idea, and would love it if somebody took it. And also, I want to be realistic with y'all about how many campaigns we can support at any given time targeting different corporations, right? I don't want to create false expectations about the ability, like for Indivisible to hold every single thing that needs to happen right now. This is the kind of thing where I would love to see an organization that has some real depth in police surveillance or in surveillance technology and law really take lead, and we would love to be in support, or even a grassroots effort get up and running, right? Like one of the things that we have seen over the course of this year is we're going to come up with some ideas, and also people are going to come up with some ideas on their own, and sometimes we pick them up and scale them. Avelo Airlines, which is an incredibly successful boycott, that didn't come from Indivisible, right? That came from Indivisible local groups from Siembra, North Carolina. It came from people who were operating in close proximity to Avelo Airlines and crafted the campaign, and then we were able to continue to push it out. And so what I would say here is that sounds like a really promising place for someone to get in into more depth. I'm not saying we would never do it, but I don't want people to think that we need to be the owners of every campaign. I want many people to start trying to get things up and running themselves.
It seems like that might be a particularly good target for state or local level campaigning too.
Yeah.
Like pick
Right.
a pick a
Just about
trifecta
that.
state, or a receptive mayor or city council where you could go after this. Because it's probably like
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of this is executed at that level.
Yep.
Will you let us know if you get to, if anybody on this call, if you hear of something, let your local organizer, your Indivisible
Yep.
organizer know, and we can run it up the chain. This is how we've sourced some of the best ideas in Indivisible. It's not
Yeah.
like Leah and I have cooked them up. It's, oh, something is catching fire. Can we magnify that? Can we apply that in other places? I saw a lot of good demask ICE campaigns start sprouting up before Indivisible National started talking about them a lot.
Right,
And that's
right.
because the local Indivisible groups or local immigrant right groups or coalitions started pushing them in other states first. Mark asks, progress in the Spotify campaign. Glad you asked, and I should have waited for your question to answer it, but I have answered it. Anything more we need to say on Spotify? Okay. Just to say, again, Spotify is in this, we are in an experimental place. We are going to try a lot of stuff, and we're going to see what catches fire. And we're still with Spotify trying new stuff and seeing what's going to catch on. So I do ask for everybody's support. If you see somebody posting a Spotify Wrapped, like these were my top albums, you might say, hey, do you know that Spotify is recruiting ICE agents? And it's very easy to transfer your music to other services. We need everybody's support to make these a big thing. The same thing is true of We Ain't Buying It. So help us make these campaigns big deals. It's going to take all of us to do it. Okay, Chelsea asks, also a question about invoking the 25th agreement or
Yeah.
25th Amendment. I will say Chelsea is bringing up this other brand new news, which I
Yeah.
do think we should comment on because
Yeah.
it's so freaking egregious,
Yeah.
which is Trump tweeting or posting, I don't know if it was on Truth Social or where, that Democratic members of Congress, senators, should be hanged. Leah.
Yeah. I mean, we're running out of adjectives to describe how outrageous this is, right? Like it's incredibly dangerous. It's part of an overarching authoritarian playbook that we've seen in action many times, but it's certainly one of the most violent and horrifying examples of that. I think it's worth noting that we're a little more than 2 months out from the period of time when Republicans were trying to convince everyone that calling them Nazis was hate speech.
Right.
And here you have the actual president of the United States literally calling for the execution of sitting members of Congress for exercising their free speech rights. This is crazy. It is horrifying. We are standing very firmly behind the elected officials who are refusing to be cowed. And I think that's actually a really important piece of this. You know, when you see Senator Slotkin, Senator Kelly, how they're responding, they are standing firm. It is not a small thing for the president of the United States to make a violent threat against you. And they are collectively rooting themselves in their military service, in their service to our country, in the fact that they are exercising their free speech rights, and that they are doing the most American thing in the world, which is standing up for our values. So we really stand with them on the impeachment. I do just want to come back to the impeachment and 25th Amendment pieces because I think this comment, this is a place where we've got a little bit of like energy within the network. We're of the opinion that Donald Trump merits impeachment and has merited impeachment basically since like day 3 of his presidency, right? He commits an impeachable offense like roughly once a week. We're not actually at all disagreeing about.
It's an underestimate.
Yeah, right, several times a week, right? Richly merits. I think the question for us is when we get one line talking to people who are not already with us. What is that line about? When we get 2 lines talking with people who are not already with us, what is that line about that gets their attention and pulls them in and builds the biggest possible coalition that we are going to need to push back against authoritarianism, both in the streets and at the ballot box? And for us, that's going to be a story about how he is trying to protect his own interests while undermining yours, right? It's going to be a story about how your cost of living is approaching crisis state because he is stealing, he is corrupt, he is entrenching his own power. that there is no money for your healthcare, there's no money for your Medicaid, but there's money for the White House ballroom. So those are the kinds of stories where if we're choosing what we're trying to say to somebody who is not already with us and not necessarily convinced by an impeachment or a process story, that's where we're leaning in and putting our energy. It's not that we don't think he very much merits impeachment. It's that we're making strategic choices about whether the conditions are ripe and what would be necessary to get to the majorities that are necessary to actually put that into action.
And we are going to get to the majorities. That is the plan. We are going to get to the majorities. We just don't have them yet. Electing Afton is one way to
Yep.
inch towards getting to the majorities. Electing Democratic fighters in the primaries coming up is another way to get to the majorities, not just Democratic majorities, but majorities of Democrats who are going to be willing to exercise
Right.
the kind of oversight and accountability that we want to see.
100%.
And then that's when we can go. Okay, Karen asks, I actually pre-read this question. I swear, y'all, I'm going to read this, and you have to just trust me. I did not plant
We
this
did not
question,
plant
but
this. It's very
part of what we do is we literally read all the questions that come in, and that's why I'm reading this, even though we don't like to pat ourselves on the back like this. But Ezra and Leah, Karen says, your leadership and perspective are so important, and you are shining lights. You are what keep me going each week as we reel in light of the blows and assaults of the current administration. You provide the vision for what we are doing and where we're going together. Thank you too, and all of your staff at Indivisible for the from the depth of my soul. You are my ray of sunshine each week. What can we do to support you, Karen Anderson from Indivisible, California 47? That is a very sweet question, and I'm touched that so many people voted it up. So one thing I would say. It is not just us, y'all. Like, we are here on this call with you all. But I hope nobody is under any illusion that Leah and I are doing everything that Indivisible National does, and even more so that we're doing everything that the Indivisible movement is doing, and even more so that we're doing everything that No Kings is doing. Like, we get to be part of this just like y'all get to be part of this, and we all have roles to play, but there are so many people exercising so much leadership, some in front of the room leading Indivisible groups or giving comments to reporters, some in the back of the room writing policy reports or forming relationships with coalition partners or making sure emails go out. Like, this is an enormous group project, and as far as group projects go, best one I've ever been part of. Best one, because it's made up of a lot of people who are aligned about what is the problem that we're facing and goals aligned about what we want to achieve. And there are disagreements about tactics and there are disagreements about strategy sometimes. But one of the real joys about organizing with Indivisible is just, damn it, it's just the best people in the country who are taking it upon themselves to do something, taking on risk, being threatened by the administration or by local Republicans or by wackos who follow the MAGA movement and like send threats in, but they're doing it anyway. So what can you do to support us? What I would say is bring one more person to the next What's the Plan meeting. Recruit one more person from your local Indivisible group. Found one more Indivisible group somewhere in the country that doesn't have one. There is nothing that I would ask you to do more than that. That's going to make us feel all the better about what we're doing here. But fundamentally, thank you all for letting us be part of this. Like, it's the proudest thing. Well, I mean, Zeke and Lila are very high up there, but aside from our kids, it's the thing I'm most proud of, being part of this with you all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I think I get sometimes people saying like, "Oh, we're worried about you. We want to, we want to help you. We want to support you." I think what people don't necessarily understand and like feel is because we're in the role we're in and we are hearing stories from all over the country every day of people who are stepping into leadership, of people who are finding a way to make a difference, of people who are incredibly courageous and standing up for their communities and forming these partnerships and performing these acts of service and solidarity. Like, it's like having this like bright beam of light that's directed at you all the time. It's just this like beautiful stream of hope that just comes straight into us. And so I really think that I appreciate people saying like, how can I support? But it's really the fact that we're in this position and that we get to be part of people's journeys that it's just so incredibly meaningful. It keeps us going. It makes me feel incredibly rooted in my purpose. And yeah, I just am repeating you, but I'm
No,
grateful to be part of this. I really am. That's you all are supporting us.
indeed, by being here. Okay, Sharon asks, I canceled Spotify right after you first announced the issue, but the Spotify campaign does not seem to be catching on. Is there a good way to amplify it? Also, we'll do that, and then there's a second question about Target boycott. I think you're right. It's not like the Disney protest, which was like Disney fired Kimmel, there was mass response. 1.8 million people canceled their subscriptions. Disney reverse course. Spotify is more of a slow burn. I think that is absolutely right to look at. And what I would say to this is we're trying different tactics to see what's catching on. One was the initial launch, and we've done a big press push, and we've been talking about it a lot. We've worked with Brad Lander, who is coming out and putting pressure on Spotify as well for what it's doing. We are looking at some interesting campaigns with local Indivisible groups pushing back against the local headquarters of Spotify, which we saw last week, which was cool. There was going to be some work around the Spotify Wrapped. We're trying to figure out ways, how can this catch on? What I don't want to do, I will just say, Sharon, what I don't want to do is announce a campaign like, these are the bad guys, we're going to go after them. And then after the first week, if it doesn't go viral, we just say, oh, okay, let's give up on it. I don't think we can do that. We've got to give it a real go, which means we should be trying a lot of different ways to amplify it and see, is there something that is more likely to get it to catch on? Is there something where we're getting traction and should we double down on it? So I hope we are successful with Spotify. We are not giving it up. So there's no discussion right now of like, it hasn't caught fire yet. It's not like a viral campaign that's on the tip of everybody's tongue yet. Therefore, we're going to drop it. No, we're continuing to try to push it and get it some traction. I'm excited about a couple of things in the hopper, and so know that that's coming. And I would put this in the same category as some of the other work that we were discussing. If there are particularly creative actions that y'all are thinking up, what I would highly encourage you to do is try it out and see if this helps it break through in your community. If it does, let us know. Like, really, let us know so we can amplify that and use that as an input for the work that we're doing. I think this is relevant for Spotify. I also think it's relevant for the other kind of corporate campaigns that we're going to want to do.
Yeah.
Leah, do you
Sure.
want to talk about the Target? Yeah. So the question on Target was, Target boycott has been in place for months, and we have seen profits sink and leadership change, but no DEI policy change.
Yep. That's right.
So
That's right. It's been going for much of this year, and there has been both a very notable impact on sales to date, and there has been a leadership turnover. The Target is very clear if you're looking at the most recent headlines that it has not been doing so great lately. And also, they have not changed their policies. That is right. And what we understand is that some of that is about like direct pressure from Donald Trump. And so the basic thing that we are trying to do is build comparable counterweight pressure from as broad a population and broad a coalition as possible. Now, one of the things that we think is really important here is like this is a boycott that was started by leaders across the Black community. And we want to make sure that Target understands that it's not just Black people who are going to be boycotting that we're going forward, right? Like this is a multiracial collective boycott of people who see what Target is doing, want it to push back against the administration, want it to stand up for racial equality and civil rights, want to actually like let it know that we need to see it uphold its values. And this is an opportunity, the Black Friday collective effort is an opportunity to kind of re-inject that story back into the headlines if we're all throwing in. And so that's why we're really excited to be part of it.
great. Molly asks, in an article appearing in the New York Times on Sunday, Marjorie Taylor Greene is quoted as saying, I believe in the American people more than I believe in any leader or political party, and the American people deserve so much better than how they've been treated by both sides of the aisle. Given the fact that Greene has been one of Trump's most ardent supporters, I'm wondering if she is having a change of heart that may include embracing the pro-democracy movement. How can we enlist such quote-unquote fallen congresspeople into our ranks? This is Indivisible Marin in Marin County, California. Leah, thoughts on this? But before you give thoughts, did you see what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said about this?
No, what did she say?
So I thought this was fascinating because I suspected something like this, and then AOC just said it. She did, I think, an Instagram live on it. So the scuttlebutt was that we heard from AOC was Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for governor of Georgia. She wanted to run for governor of Georgia, and she went to Trump, and Trump said, no, I'm not going to endorse you. You should not run. And that pissed her off. And so since Trump derailed her political aspirations, she has suddenly discovered that maybe she shouldn't just 100% back up Trump. So, and I say that not to say we shouldn't then welcome people in, but just note this is not some kind of come to Jesus moment for Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the result of political machinations behind the scenes. But broadly, Leah, you can comment on this specifically, but more broadly, do you want to talk about people coming over to our side?
I think we can get a little bit twirly in talking about this because we sometimes talk about like voters and trying to win voters over, and we also talk about trying to recruit, electeds or people, fence sitters, or people who are collectively kind of on the MAGA side, who are prominent people who've made decisions and been part of the MAGA movement consolidating power in this country and trying to pull them over. And both of those things are, we should do both of those things, but it's a little bit different in
Maybe it was
terms of,
Senate, not governor, just,
I'm
but yeah,
sorry,
higher
Senate.
office.
Yeah,
No, that
higher
was me.
office.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But I think that like there's a few pieces of this. Like when we're talking about pulling voters who were with Trump over, there's a certain amount. I think we got to be real about the fact that we pull people in by welcoming them into the coalition. And not everyone has to do the welcoming, right? Like some people are going to be out there pushing for the next thing. Some people are going to be the right personality to say, welcome into this coalition. We want you here. Let's all fight together. Um, but we do want more people to feel like they should be part of this. When it comes to like elected officials who are switching sides like this, I think there's a difference between saying, yes, come on in, versus like, yes, come on in. You should be someone that we look to who continues to have power and authority within our coalition, right? Because like a big part of getting into the pro-democracy coalition is like a full and complete accounting of what you've done to support the rise of authoritarianism in this country, the harm you've committed to vulnerable populations, to trans folks, to the bigotry that she's advanced against communities of color,
Space lasers.
anti-Semitism, the space lasers. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. I think it's like really important to be a little bit careful about just a proactive, full-throated embrace that doesn't actually involve a meaningful transformation by someone. And so I think that the simplest and cleanest explanation here is, yeah, she's running for governor, or sorry, she wants to run for Senate, and she's mad about that, or she's setting up for her future presidential run in a post-Trump party. There's lots of reasons why it doesn't make sense when you see somebody who's got like a long career of behaving in absolutely reprehensible ways to see them behave well for a few months and be like, yes, that person's on our team now. I think we should be continuing to engage. I think we should be accepting support as it comes in, but I also think we should, we shouldn't go above and beyond to embrace somebody who's got a pretty horrifying overall record of harm to others.
It's interesting. I wonder if we're fully aligned on this, Leah.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
there
mean,
is
I think
there
it's
could be
huge.
daylight
Yeah.
between us on this because look, there's somebody like Liz Cheney. I don't agree with
Yeah.
Liz Cheney on like any social or economic policy under the sun. And also Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and a handful
Yeah.
of other right-wing Republicans legitimately were helpful and continue in some cases to be helpful pro-democracy advocates. And they understand that the key challenge in America today is not what is your healthcare policy, your economic policy, or your social policy. It's do you support autocracy or democracy?
Yeah.
And I am totally willing to embrace a Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. I also like they are. I want to embrace them in direct proportion to how many people they bring into the movement.
Yeah, that's a
Right?
good point.
And so if I think a lot of people thought that the moderate or never Trump Republicans had big constituencies of, moderate Republicans or independents who would see them and say, well, I don't know about Democrats or I don't know about Kamala Harris, but I like these Republicans. And so I'll come over. And I think what we found is their main constituency were Democrats who were already on our side, who wanted to feel more confident that they were on the right side because there were these Republicans. And so with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think the place that I'm curious, and I'm not sure, is does she bring a constituency over? And is there a temporary ally there in opposing the regime? And it's okay if it's purely for cynical reasons
Yeah.
on her part. I'm not going to go campaign for Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh my
Like,
God.
that's obviously not in the cards. But if she wants to bash Trump, if she wants to say what he's doing is unconstitutional and illegal, and if she wants to convince her voters to come over to the pro-democracy side, even if it's just in the short term, hell, sounds good to me.
Okay. 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 Well, we'll continue to see how this unfolds and whether we should be more skeptical or
Marjorie
I mean,
Taylor
actually,
Greene
I
is
think we're both pretty
she,
skeptical.
we're
Just to be clear.
I'm skeptical. She's not going to
Um,
be a guest on What's the Plan
yeah,
anytime in the
she's
near
not.
future.
No, that's true. That is not invited.
But
Okay.
I welcome her causing the regime some harm and making some people think, well, maybe this guy isn't all he's made out to be.
That's true. Okay.
Interesting. We don't always get
Yeah,
like
we
a
lingered
meaty
on that.
question
Yeah,
like that.
this is
Thank you for
this
that,
is
Molly.
perfect.
Okay, David Smith asks, why are we not joining slash supporting the Trump Must Go coalition in DC? If we want to shake the pillars of support, they need to know what the people's support is. We need to get the magic 3.5% population. That's the Erica Chenoweth and Marie Stephan number. Um, uh, and then some at the seat of power in DC to tell them to pull the levers they have at their disposal to remove this fascist from the White House, and that the people will have their back if they do it. If we want primaries to matter, midterms to matter, any election results to be honored, we need everyone to understand the urgency of removing Trump right now. Why are we not pushing this priority as number one? Leah, you touched on this a little bit. This is a little bit more detailed version of this question.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things. One is that at any given moment, there are going to be a lot of different efforts going on across the ecosystem. We try to throw in on a limited number of them so that we can actually do a really full job of collectively supporting, right? Like what doesn't advance anyone's interest is if everyone's kind of signed on at a paper level to everything versus deciding where you can go big and make a really big impact and really leading and driving that place. So for us, we've put an enormous amount of effort and energy behind the No Kings mobilizations. We'll continue to do so. Those are large scale, massive commitments. When we try to go big and get millions of people out, that is multiple months of intensive work for basically everybody at our organization. And so, I think one piece of this is just like there's a more the merrier aspect that like some people will try different things and that's okay, but we can't all kind of do all the things all the time or else we will rapidly burn ourselves out. So that's one piece here. I think the other thing that I would just say on this is, you know, there's a broader tendency in the ecosystem around kind of like we should all mass in DC for like the big march to push, to remove Trump or to move, to have a decisive moment in DC. And we're actually like somewhat, it's not that that might not ever be the right play. Like it might well be the right play at some point in the future. We don't think it's ripe right now. And that's because we're frankly like not at the number of people that we really actually want to be in a moment like that. And what we've seen from past protests and past efforts to do kind of like mass protests in DC targeting lawmakers is it's actually like not necessarily the most clear strategic connection for them because lawmakers care the most about people from their district. And if you have a large number of people in DC who may or may not be from their district, you have a lot of lawmakers who say, "Oh, those are probably, I'm in Pennsylvania. Those people are probably from New York. They're probably from a blue state that I don't have to care about. They're probably, I don't even know if those are my constituents." And so, like the large scale march in DC, it's not necessarily clear to us that that creates more pressure on any individual lawmaker than a really well organized action that's in their district where they know that those people who are showing up are their actual constituents.
I'm sorry, y'all. Like, as we're both former congressional staffers, we worked in D.C. on Capitol Hill, and I saw how even progressive members of Congress viewed most D.C. protests, and it's exactly as Leah said. It was like, huh, that's interesting, doesn't apply to me. It's not politically relevant to me. Whereas my member of Congress, Leah's member of Congress, paid hella close attention to what was happening in the district if there was big stuff. This is why we focus so much on local. That doesn't mean there isn't a role for some DC work, but I
Yeah.
think we should.
DC protests can be really powerful
Yeah.
in the right moment, but our assessment is kind of a general anti-Trump protest focused on DC right now it's not where Indivisible is going to put its focus. And I know we've got to go
We've got to go.
roughly on time.
I know. So I do want to.
Okay.
Sorry, Carly, behind the scenes. We're going to cover these two really fast and then get and close out. Okay. Jeff asks a question about 1 Million Rising continuing after No Kings and wondering about courage collectives and when the specific courage collectives, pillar specific tool with tools and actions are going to come together. That's
Yeah.
one. And then Eric is asking about the follow-up after this, the Schumer's inability to keep the Senate together, and whether it's going to be possible to all come together around a unified strategy. He specifically calls out Ken Martin going on MSNBC talking about a one team, one fight, one strategy. So can we talk once, Leah? I'm going to let you talk about Courage Collectives, then I'll talk about primaries, and then we'll send everybody off for the holiday.
Yeah, sure. So what I would say on that is we would love to get really direct feedback about what would be helpful here. We did launch the Courage Collective campaign, and we've gotten a lot of folks signing up across the different pillars. And so I'm just candidly, I think we would love to have a little bit more specifics about what you're looking for in order to be helpful there.
Well, so for Indivisible Oregon, that would be the organizer is.
Well, I mean, that
We'll
let's make
follow
it
up with your
open-ended.
individual organizer. So Jeff, we'll make a note of it. We'll follow up with your organizer. We'll get into it. Love to do that. Eric's question about the unifying Dem strategy. We hadn't talked about primaries yet on this call. So Indivisible has launched its primary program specifically with the goal of building a unified Democratic opposition. That is what we're looking at. I, I will say, I start from a place of skepticism for people who are just saying kumbaya right now. Because what we saw with the surrender is that there is not a unified opposition party right now. And if we want to build one, the time to build it is in the primaries, is where you actually say, wait, this is a fighter, not a folder. We're going to line up behind the fighter. And then we're going to crush the regime in the midterms. But before we get to the midterms, which are a year from now, we've got months of primaries where we get to make choices in a place like Minnesota, where you've got Angie Craig, who's been fundraised for by Chuck Schumer, and you've got Flanagan, Peggy Flanagan, who's lieutenant governor, who is supported by Tim Walz and by several senators. Who are the senators who came out for Flanagan today? Chris Murphy, Chris Van Hollen, Martin Einrich, and Merkley,
Senator
Jeff Merkley. So that is like there is a division there. That's okay, y'all. It is okay to have a division in a primary. We will dust ourselves afterwards. We will unify behind whoever wins. But if what you're looking for is a unified fight back party, do not just gloss over the debate in the primaries that is coming. That is a chance for us
Part
to
of
have
how
that
we
debate.
get to a unified
Exactly.
front.
It's
Yep,
how we get
that's
there.
right.
So, Eric, that's where our heads are right now. The indivisible2026.org, you can look at the primary schedule starting. You will see us start focusing on more individual candidates as the weeks go on. But what you will not see is us here next Thursday because that's Thanksgiving. So we are out next Thursday. This is, I think, only the second time this year we will have not had a What's the Plan. I'm sorry, y'all, but the kids will just be loud in the background, and regardless of how good our mics are, you won't be
You
able
will
to
not
hear
be able
us. So take the week off, but please take a look at the survey that we're sending out after this email on We Ain't Buying It. It'll help us put together some more strategic thinking as we move forward on these corporate campaigns. Appreciate all of y'all for being here. We're building something really special together, y'all. And as we said earlier, it's an honor to be part of this. If there is one thankful thing in my mind right now, it is that the pro-democracy movement is powerful and growing. And I know it's because of all of y'all that we're going to win. So go eat some turkey or whatever vegetarian alternative you eat. Later, y'all. See you in a couple weeks.